Hey there, welcome into the show. Hope everybody out there is having a fantastic weekend. My name is Chase Sr. Thanks for tuning in to the San Francisco 49ers Report. Coming up here on the show, some big-time injury news looking ahead to Niners training camp and, of course, the 2025 campaign. So let's run through this injury report for the Niners, and let's begin with Ricky Pearse dealing with the hamstring injury. So he didn't partake in OTAs. He didn't partake in mandatory minicamp. I think this is a little bit of a concern, right? Everybody wants to point to that gunshot wound that he suffered last year, and of course, that was a crazy situation, and thank God that Ricky Pearse is okay. And a lot of people have said, Chase, you're way too hard on Ricky Pearse. He couldn't play last year because of that gunshot wound. Partially true. Prior to him getting shot, he barely practiced or did anything at all during training camp, did not play at all in the preseason because he had the subluxation in his shoulder, and he had, wait for it, another hamstring issue. And with a player who is twitchy, athletically explosive, who relies on quick, sudden movements to win off the line of scrimmage, whose strength is route running, who has a positive to his game of being able to go up and get the football, who's already a little bit small, I worry about consistent soft tissue injuries. And with him barely playing last year and him not hitting his gear or finding his stride until late in the season, I would have loved for him to get the necessary reps that are required for his development during OTAs and minicamp. He needs to build that rapport with his quarterback in Brock Purdy. He wasn't able to do that. So the plus is that Pearse is expected to be ready for training camp. Shanahan said he could have partaken in mandatory minicamp. We didn't want to risk it. The downside is you don't want this to negate his development because I believe reps for young players are very important. It's different when a Fred Warner doesn't practice during mandatory minicamp. He doesn't need to. In my opinion, Pearse needs to. He showed some juice last year. 31 catches, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. The end around against the Cowboys that went for 40+. The 45-yard touchdown for his first career score against the Buccaneers when he high-stepped to the pylon and beat Antoine Winfield to pay dirt. That was an impressive play. The huge performance against the Lions when he had more than 140 yards receiving and a touchdown on Brian Branch, one of the top young DBs in the game. A contested touchdown in the regular season finale against Arizona. We saw a lot of splash plays. And Ricky Pearse could be one of the more explosive players on this team, but he needs to be healthy for that to happen. As for Jauan Jennings, breakout year last year. If he didn't get booted for just being a great blocker and bringing physicality to the field when the Niners season was over against Arizona in Week 18, he probably would have gotten to 1,000 yards. 77 grabs, 975 yards last year, 6 touchdowns. He was the number 1 wide receiver for Brock Purdy with Deebo Samuel banged up, looking fat and slow, and with Brandon Aiyuk out. And I think that Jennings could be in store for another big year here in 2025. He balled out during OTAs. Did not practice during minicamp because of that calf. He, too, expected to be okay for Niners training camp. For Mykel Williams, last year at Georgia, he had to deal with an ankle injury that he suffered week 1 against Chip's Clemson Tigers, and that impacted the rest of his year because he wasn't quite 100%. That's why some of the production numbers and pass rush numbers were a little bit down. What he does give San Francisco is an NFL-ready body and the ability to help stop the run right away because he can really set that edge. He is a physically imposing player. During rookie minicamp, during OTAs, he was impressing a lot of people. He did not participate in mandatory minicamp because of a hamstring issue. You don't want to risk that because if you re-aggravate that, he could be out a little bit longer. He's expected to be ready for training camp, but let's monitor the injury status and the injury history of Mykel Williams. Not concerned about him. More concerned about Alfred Collins because he didn't do a lot in the pre-draft because of a calf injury. He didn't do anything up to this point in the offseason and in the spring because of a calf injury. Didn't practice during rookie minicamp, didn't do anything during OTAs, and didn't do anything during mandatory minicamp. We're talking about a player here who is 6'5", 330 pounds. And so the nagging calf, I do worry about it a little bit. And again, young player not getting reps. I always want to see them do individual drills, work on their deficiencies, just get acclimated with the speed, the physicality, and the regimen of being an NFL player. The good news is at Texas, extremely durable, barely missed any time. I think he missed 1 or 2 games throughout his entire 5-year college career. But let's hope that calf injury doesn't linger, because the Niners need that big body in the trenches here in 2025 because they're thin at defensive tackle. Before we continue to move forward on today's show, be sure to give me a follow on social media. Support my brand over there in addition to the 49ers Report brand here. Here on YouTube, I give you so much long-form content, short-form content. On my social media pages, I'm putting out so much Niners content. It's at Chase_Senior on X and Instagram. This deal, thanks to our friends at Fanatics, is phenomenal. We've sold so many small shirts that Fanatics has run out. But medium, large, XL, and beyond, they are still available if you go to chatsports.com/sfshirt. Again, these shirts were $40. They are on sale for just $28. Niners print with the Crescent logo on the front, and their Nike shirts. Get them today before they're gone. Limited time only $28. As for Andre Dillard, former first-round pick by the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2019, he had an ankle scope. And backup offensive tackle is important for this team. If Trent Williams were to go down, that could spell disaster for San Francisco, because the offensive line is already average, I think, at best. And if you lose arguably the best left tackle in the game, even at his age, it makes an average offensive line even worse. And backup offensive tackle is a question mark. You have Andre Dillard competing. You have Austin Pleasants, who had a really good spring. Then you have Spencer Burford, who's working exclusively at offensive tackle. He played a little bit of offensive tackle at UTSA, very sparingly at the NFL level. But point here being, it's hard to find quality backup offensive tackles. And when you don't have a good one, you really get exposed. Andre Dillard has ability, and he's expected to be ready for training camp. And you hope that he can tap into his potential, because when we've seen him play at his best, he certainly has his potential. But a couple of years after he got a bag from the Tennessee Titans, one of the lowest graded offensive tackles in the National Football League. Gier Brown had to get a cleanup procedure on his ankle. So he did not do anything during OTAs or mandatory minicamp as well. And so you have Gier Brown and Malik Mustafa, who both had offseason surgeries. And so during mandatory minicamp OTAs, Jason Pinnock and Richie Grant, a former second-round pick, have gotten a lot of reps there. The good news is, as I try to sprinkle in good news throughout the show, is that both of those players who were let go by their respective teams last year, not retained by their own teams, have been performing well throughout the spring, giving this team safety depth. George Odum, one of the top special teams players in the National Football League, we didn't see him at all during the spring because of a knee injury. He, too, expected back for training camp. And then Yeturgos Matos. He was a pretty big signing for the Niners going into 2024, and then he had to deal with this knee injury and played very sparingly. When he did play defensive end, defensive tackle, kind of in that Cleveland Ferrell, Arden Key, Charles Omenihu role, I thought he did play solid ball. He did just have a baby, him and his wife, recently, so congratulations to him on that. But the continued knee issues, an issue for me, because the Niners do not have a lot of depth at defensive end. Brandon Aiyuk, not expected to be ready for the start of Niners training camp, but General Manager John Lynch did say this week he is doing amazing in his rehab. Keep in mind, he tore 3 ligaments in his knee in October. So I never anticipated him being ready for week 1. I don't think he's ready for week 1, nor do I think he should be ready for week 1. But the positive is that he's coming along nicely in that recovery. Malik Mustafa, not a full torn ACL in his knee, but in the regular season finale, he injured the graft on the ACL that he did have surgery on, that he tore back in 2022. And this is a pretty impactful development for San Francisco. Malik Mustafa was really sound as a rookie. He brings this team a thumper presence at the safety spot who injects fear into the opposition. And with how he played and how well he played as a rookie, I was expecting a big leap in year 2. How much time is he going to miss? He could be a candidate to start the season on PUP. And then there's Curtis Rourke, the rookie 7th-round pick quarterback who played all of last year on a torn ACL. He got that surgically repaired on after the season. That's why he didn't do anything pre-draft. I think he's a candidate to just redshirt this year, go on season-ending IR, so then the Niners don't have to make a roster decision for him. You put him on IR, and he doesn't occupy a roster spot, and then you see how he looks next year. So that right there, some big-time Niners injury news coming out of mandatory minicamp, looking ahead to training camp at the end of July. This is why you subscribe. We always bring you the best Niners coverage right here on YouTube, and thank you so much for supporting the program.